Okay, here's some optional supplies that we have that you can use. First of all, we have, and if you were in my Art 1 class, you used one of these Hake brushes, where if you need to apply a lot of water, you can even, dip it into some paint and get some soft, big areas going. We have those available. Those are nice. It's called Hake brush, Hake. We also have a few slightly larger brushes around. And again, those in kind of semi-large areas, those can really fill in a lot of area pretty quickly. Okay, so if you had to work a big wash like that, I'm not going to do anything in that necessarily, but um, those slightly medium to bigger size brushes come in handy sometimes. We also have some of these brushes that are chiseled. They have a nice clean corner to them, and if you pick up a little bit of paint, just kind of like I see here, you can make a line that goes skinny and then make it big. Kind of some elegant um, calligraphy. So you can just use the corner of it. You can use, the broad side to make, it's kind of a larger brush, but it might come in handy for certain things that you have to paint. You never know, but I want to make sure you know of everything you have. We have some of those brushes in slightly different sizes as well. The chisel brushes, the squared off ones. In another video, I told you about some of our really, really small brushes that we have that you can get in there and just do some really tiny, that's still wet. So if you needed to make little tiny specks, or if you needed to hold that pencil really, hold the paintbrush really up high, and you can get some really delicate fine lines with those as well for whatever purpose that might happen. If you had tree branches, dead wiggly tree branches, the real subtle soft ones, that's when I hold the paintbrush really far back and kind of loosely in my fingertips and just kind of twirl my fingers and let my hand kind of jiggle. And that kind of thing looks way more like little dead branches at the end of a tree rather than trying to paint them, just perfectly. All right, so we have a variety of brushes for you. Another thing we have as an option, happens once in a while, we can use our good old Crayola marker. And check this out. I'm going to have a paintbrush ready, and that's what happened right here. So watch this. I'm going to draw a line. So if you have an edge that fades away, then I'm going to grab just a little bit of water, maybe take a little bit out, and I'm going to scrub one edge of that and use my paper towel, and I can let that kind of fade away. And that's a perfectly valid way to use a marker as a source for your pigment. Another way to do something similar is make sure it's a decent marker too. Let's get a little bit of water in your brush, maybe wipe a little off, and just paint the end of the brush, the marker, excuse me, with your brush. And you can paint on a little bit like that too. Then I can, if I needed to, let that kind of fade away. But don't just use a marker and leave it. Use it as a source for your color, whether you're going to let it fade away or not. Okay, another one we do, and this one you only do really at the very end of your painting, and that is if you need some last minute touch-ups. And I'm going to put it on a little piece of colored paper here so you can see it. This is my old scratch paper. Um, some white acrylic paint, and I don't have these tubes at school, but I have another kind of paint. I'm at home right now, so just all it takes is just the tiniest little bit like that. And the thing with the acrylic paint though is if you use it, you must clean your brush out immediately. Otherwise it will it'll mess the brush up. It turns into hard plastic. So I'm barely have not even a drop of water in my brush, and I'm just going to pick some up, and usually it just has to happen on places where you accidentally covered over something. And little things like this, you don't use it as a big touch-up. And many times. If it's a delicate little spot you have to touch up, it might take a couple of coats. So I might let that dry, clean out my brush, get it cleaned out. Let's just pretend that it's dry just for sake of speed and time. And I'm going to, if you didn't get a couple of cat whiskers or you didn't get the reflection in the eye, so this is really just for minor little touch-ups that you didn't get. And again, I could let that dry and make it get even a little bit brighter. All right, so those are a couple of extra little supplies and things and the reasons we can use it. There you go.